Hi and welcome to Study Room. I am Prataksha, your biology teacher, and today I'll be discussing with you another interesting chapter, improvement in food resources. Now, in the previous chapter, we had a look at our natural resources. In this chapter, we'll be learning about the different food resources that we derive from plants as well as from animals. And we will also be looking and learning about the techniques that have been adopted for the increase in the production of food resources and also in the improvement in their food quality. Okay, let's get started. Now we know that sunlight is required for photosynthesis, and you must have seen farmers in the fields. They are using different techniques, right? They are using fertilizers, they're using pesticides, okay, and there are also cattle that have been employed in field work, right? For harvesting crops as well as for sowing, for plowing, as well as tractors and other technological improvements. Then we also need to ensure that the food that we are harvesting, all right, that is being protected, that is being stored in a place that nurtures its growth for its future use as well, and it does not let and the storage place should be such that the food crops or the harvested crops that are being stored there, they are not being infested by other organisms or either by bacteria or viruses. So in this chapter, we will be learning about how these food resources are being produced more so that it can be meet it can meet the population requirement, and how these increased surplus food production, it is also being stored so that they are being protected from harmful from pests, all right, from pests, from harmful animals such as insects and parasites and viruses that destroy these food resources and hinder us in hinder us in accessing those food resources. Okay, so we know that living organisms, we need food for our growth, for our health and development. We have learned about cell, we have learned about tissues, and we also have learned about natural resources. So we know that food, the nutrients, the important resources that we acquire from food, they are not only responsible for very superficial circumstances such as a growth of a person, all right, or for the health, for the health of a person, right? To keep the person healthy. But food, the nutrients that we get from food, they are actually being required for the production of materials that are found in our cell. All right. For example, the cell membrane is made up of different kind of lipids and fats and carbohydrates. All right, and we know that we require protein for the synthesis of complex substances such as DNA and RNA. Okay, so whatever nutrients, whatever that nurturing quality that we are obtaining from food, okay, this is not only essential for our microscopic growth as well as in the cellular level, but it is also important for a macroscopic growth. uh, that means for the growth of an overall being, for the health, so that the person is healthy, all right, and also for the overall development. Even if we encounter any injury or we come across any accident or even disease, all right, then the intaking of proper food with such nutrients that are essential for the recovery and growth, and also for the health being of the individual. And these nutrients that we get from food, they are not only important for us human beings, but they are also being utilized by other living organisms, right? Plants, they are also living since they are producing food, okay, but they also require the minerals that we get from food. They also require those nutrients that we get from food in order to produce food in return. So it's like a cyclical process. They need nutrients to build up and produce more nutrients, okay. And also animals, in addition, they are also living beings. They also require certain nutrients, certain food for their well-being, all right. And with the increase in the number of population, all right, it is very imperative that there has to be, or there must be, an increase in the production of food as well, because there are more hungry mouths now, but lesser and lesser amount of food in order to feed them. So we know that there has to be an increase in the production of food, all right. So this is what we'll be learning in this chapter. Okay, and plants, sources of food that we are obtained from plants, that are being obtained from agriculture, and those sources of food that we are getting from animals as well, right? Like meat, like poultry, like fishes, okay, like honey from bees. They are being obtained from animal husbandry. And in this chapter, we'll be having a look at both the processes that are, um, enveloped and are used in increasing efficiency of food products in the agriculture as well as in the animal husbandry. Okay, um, right. So the demand to feed a country like India can be met by the following ways. So, like I told you, there is an that with the increase in the number of population, there are more hungry mouths to be fed now. So there has to be an increase in the production of food, and since most of the lands that we are living on is already being used, is already being used for the purpose of agriculture. All right, so we cannot say that we can take more land and we can just farm there, all right, or rear animals there, or rear culture fishes there. Okay, so that is out of the question because already there are so many lands that have been put to use for the purpose of agriculture. All right, so the solution could be that the land on which we are already using, the land which we are already cultivating for food, that could be used, that could be say more emphasized, more cultured for the efficiency of the production of food. Okay, and it is an interesting fact, you'll be surprised to know that during the duration of 1952 to 2010, there has been four times, there has been increase in the production of food four times, but the land that has been in use for the production of these food resources, that land has only been increased by 25%. All right, 1952 to 2010. Okay, only 25%. So this indicates that the land on which we are the land which we are using for agriculture, or that the land that which we are using for animal husbandry, is already being used to its maximum. So the best alternative to it can be that we can increase the production of food, we can increase the quality of the food that we are producing. All right, the other imperative in accessing those food resources is that economy. All right, is economy is the income, monthly income of people. So if you're producing food, if people all over India are the farmers, they are employed in the production of food, in the production of increased quality and better quality of food. But what about those poor people who cannot even obtain these food, who cannot access these food because of their lower monthly wages or because of their lower income? So, in order to meet that food demand, all right, it is also necessary that the access of that food is met to those people. That is, those people, they get the access to that food, all right. And how they can get the access to that food? By increasing their economy, by increasing their monthly wages. All right. So people should have enough money to buy food. Okay, money becomes here very crucial. And the other way in which we can increase the accessibility is that the rural areas, in those rural areas where say there may not be any modern farming techniques, all right, or where there may not be any, other places where they can obtain the food that is required to increase, that is required to feed the increase in the number of population in that rural towns, all right. So we have to ensure that the food that is being produced in other urban neighborhoods, they are also reaching those rural towns. Okay, so we have to increase in the production of food. Okay, we have to increase, we have to better our quality as well, and we have to make sure that the people, those poor people that cannot afford food, or they are living in such remote areas that they cannot meet the demands of their food, those people, they can be supplied food, those people, they should have that access to food. All right, and this access has been made necessary, that has been made possible by two important revolutions, Green Revolution and White Revolution. Green Revolution was introduced in India in the late 1960s, and in this revolution, the traditional methods of producing food, they have been amplified. They have been amplified so that we can get high yielding variety seeds. Okay, so the purpose of these high yielding variety seeds is that whatever food resources that we are getting from the traditional seeds, these high yielding varieties, they increase the resistance of that crops from say infestation by diseases, or they increase the resistance to the outside environment such as drought, such as flood. Okay, so we are basically making sure that those seeds, all right, they are getting more equipped in order to withstand the adverse conditions. Okay, so the high yielding variety seeds, they are responsible for the production of major food crops like wheat and rice, and farmers use these high yielding variety seeds so that the production of the food could be increased, even though the surrounding temperature, or some infestations by rats, or even microorganisms, the food, the seed, they can tolerate that, they can withstand that, they can resist that. All right, so they needed plenty of water, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides to produce best results. Okay, so high yielding variety seeds, by the name you may be understanding that it will also require high amount of manure, high amount of fertilizers. Fertilizers, why? So that the food, or the food that is being growing inside the soil, it is meeting its you know it is meeting its requirement of nutrients. Okay, so there is an increase in the amount of fertilizers. It needs more water. All right, because water is required for growth of a plant, you know this. So to produce best results, so that this high yielding variety seeds, they are more in demand, we need plenty of water, we need chemical fertilizers, and also we need pesticides to get rid of infestations by rats and other organisms. Okay, then white revolution was aimed at the increasing production of milk. Okay, so we are getting our nutrients not just from plants but also from animals. All right, and the major area in which we are getting food from animals is the dairy area. Okay, is the area where we are getting milk and say eggs and other dairy products. All right, so especially to increase the production of milk, this white revolution was started and was aimed so that India can be self-sufficient in production. It does not require to import milk from other countries. Okay, but these revolutions, they meant intensive use of our natural resources. Okay, so like in the previous slide, I told you that high yielding variety of seeds or increase in the production of milk. Naturally, they're gonna require and they're gonna need more surplus amount of nutrients, more surplus amount of say constant, constant care. Okay, constant more nurture. All right, and all these qualities, since they will ultimately lead to the increase in the usage of our natural resources. And in the previous chapter, we have seen that how imperative it is to conserve the use of these natural resources. All right. So this green revolution and this white revolution is very necessary, no doubt. But because they are aiming at an increase in the production of food resources, so naturally they're gonna require more nutrients, they're gonna require more care, and ultimately they're gonna require the usage of more natural resources. But since we have to preserve the natural resources, we have to look at alternatives, we have to look at alternate sources so that the food production can also be increased. All right, and the food is also being protected. How they're being protected from the harmful viruses, bacteria, or other organisms, small organisms like rats and insects that are attacking and damaging the crops and making us impossible to access them. All right, so these are the points that we will be discussing in this chapter. So let's get started with the first part, improvement in crop yields. All right, so we have seen that besides the green revolution, we have to look at other sources where we can increase the crop yields, and we can also ensure that these crops that we are getting from plants, they are being protected. They are being protected from rats, insects, and other viruses and bacteria. So there have to be some efficiency, so that some efficiency in the process in which we are harvesting these crops, in which we are sowing these crops and all that. So in this part by part, we'll be learning all about it. Okay, There are types of crops, different types of crops from which we get different nutrients. All right, so we get carbohydrates from cereals like rice, wheat, maize, barley. Okay, carbohydrates that are great sources of energy. Okay, then we are getting pulses. We are getting protein from pulses. Protein that is very imperative for our growth and our recovery and our healing, and also an important source of are complex chemical compounds, just DNA and RNA. So these include pea, lentils, black and green gram. Okay. Then you're getting fats from seeds. So apart from proteins and carbohydrates, you know that fats are also very essential in order for our total body composition to sustain our total body composition. So seeds provides us with fat, and these include edible seeds like oil seeds, cereals, nuts, and pulses. And from fruits, spices and vegetables, we get vitamins and minerals, those nutrients that our body requires in very small quantities, but the access of these small quantities is very necessary for our overall growth, for our overall health, and for our overall well-being. So these include mango, apple, cherry and banana. The season for cropping, that is going to be dependent on factors such as temperatures, factors such as photoperiod, means the duration of sunlight to which that crop is being exposed to, and the life cycle of that crop. All right, it means that certain crops, if they are subjected to an increase in temperature or decrease in temperature, then naturally their ability to absorb nutrients from the soil, to absorb water, to absorb sunlight is going to decrease, because they are not going to function in that increased or decreased temperature. They're going to turn bad. All right, and we're not going to get our desired crop, we're not going to get our desired harvest. Okay, the other reason is the photoperiod. Say if a plant is not getting enough sunlight, then how will it photosynthesize to produce food? How will we get our food if the plant is not photosynthesizing? All right, so adequate photoperiod, that means the exposure of that crop, that plant to sunlight is also very crucial. Then the life cycle of the plant is also very dependent for what kind of season we are getting our harvest from. All right, if a particular plant is supposed to have its optimum life cycle in, say, the rainy season, then it has to be planted and harvested during that season. All right, it cannot be, say, planted in the summer or winter, and we cannot expect then the same result. All right, so for the crops, for us to get our required harvest, it is very important to sow these seeds, all right, in their respective seasons. All right, so that they can get their requirement of temperature, they can get their requirement of sunlight, and they can get their nutrients, and they can produce food, they can absorb nutrients in their life cycle, in their optimum life cycle, giving us the harvest, a good harvest as well. Okay, so cropping depends on temperature of the environment, photoperiod, that is the duration of sunlight that the crop is being exposed to, and also the life cycle. Okay, there are two seasons of cropping. All right, means there are two seasons in which farmers are very extensively involved in sowing, in nurturing, and in reaping and harvesting. Okay, we have the Kharif season. That means those crops that are sowed and are then harvested. This is mainly the rainy season. We'll be learning all about it. Don't worry. And then we have the Ravi season, the crops that we sow and reap later in the winter season. All right, so these seasons are very crucial for the farmers. You must have seen the farmers, some areas where that are unfortunately drought hidden. Okay, so the farmers, they are waiting for rain, but they are not getting the rain because of the extreme climatic situation. All right, so that leads to a decrease in the production of crop. Then also during the winter season, the frost or the temperature is not so low as it should have been for the crops to get that required yield. All right, so when the seeds, when the plants, they're not getting the adequate temperature and adequate means of environment, all right, in which they can grow and prosper, then naturally the farmers are going to get tensed. And this is what all you hear on say on the television, or also read in the newspapers, that farmers, they're very impatiently, or they're very patiently waiting for the rainy season, for the winter season to strike at the right time, so that the crops, they can grow and prosper well. What do we get from cereals, pulses, fruits, and vegetables? So from cereals, we know that we get carbohydrates, okay, carbohydrates that give us energy, very crucial. From pulses, we know that we get protein, a very important nutrient involved in our healing process and our growth, and also a very important constituent of our nucleic acids. From fruits and vegetables, we get those small quantities of vitamins and minerals that are very essential for our health and well-being. Okay, so these are the nutrients which we get from cereals, pulses, fruits, and vegetables. Okay, there are three methods to improve crop yield: crop variety improvement, crop production, and crop protection management. Okay, let's go through them one by one. What do we mean by crop variety improvement? Now, like I told you, that the crops, they have to be produced in such an amount so that it is meeting the need of the increased population. All right, there are more mouths to feed now, so naturally we want more production of crops. All right, so we cannot compromise also with the quality, right? We want quality plus quantity. All right, we can't just compromise we can't just say that okay, we have increased the number of crop production, but lo and behold, the harvested crop is not fit to eat, fit to consume. Then what is the purpose, what is the use? The purpose has been failed, right? So the crop variety should be improved, and it should be improved in such a way that both its quality as its quantity is being increased. All right, the quality, if not increased, then at least it's being maintained to a moderate level of decent consumption, and its quantity is being increased. Okay, then crop production improvement. All right, while you are nurturing that crop, while you are when you have sowed that crop, you will nurture it, right? You will nurture it, and you provide it adequate soil. You provide the adequate soil so that the plant get the adequate nutrients from the soil. You will provide enough amount of water. You will get that plant to be placed in such an area that it's getting enough sunlight, it's getting enough of air. Okay, so all these qualities, they are essential they are essential in how you're going to improve the crop production. What other methods can you incorporate as well? And if the crop is getting damaged by any adverse climatic situation, like say drought or floods, then how are you going to improve that production? How are you going to manage it? Okay, and thirdly, we are seeing the crop protection management. Means after or during the growth of those crops. All right, you how are you protecting it from infestations by harmful pests, from infestations by say animals such as rodents, all right, or even microorganisms such as bacteria and viruses, because they attack the plant body, they attack the crops. Okay, they use it for their own growth and therefore for own nutrition, and ultimately they are turning the plant bad for our human consumption. Okay, so we have to protect the plant not only from these infestations, but also after the plant is being harvested, and it is stored, the place where it is stored, we also have to take care of that, how it is being stored. Is it being getting enough sunlight, or if the plant is supposed to be stored in a shady area, that is it getting enough shade? Okay, and is it being protected from other animals who may again attack those harvested crops and turn them bad for our consumption? So these are the important points that one has to keep in mind when one is looking at how to improve and how to increase the crop yield. Okay, The seasons for the cropping, like I told you, the first one was the Kharif season, and this is witnessed during the monsoon season. Growth of such crops occur during monsoon, during the rainy season, that is from June to October. All right, because in different parts of India, we are getting monsoons at different times and different months. Okay, so a rough estimate of June to October is taken for this season, and the crops that are grown in this season, they are rice, green and black gram, and soybean. Okay, next, we have the Rabi season. This is the second one, and you know that this is sown, and the growth of such crops occur during the winter season, that is November to April. Again, depending upon the different parts of India where winter is hitting, all right, where the season is coming on. So we have taken the rough estimate of November to April. Okay, so June to October, Kharif, and November to April, Rabi season. The crops that grow during this season, they are gram, wheat, pulse, and gram, wheat, mustard, pea, and linseed. Okay, now let's discuss the first topic when we are discussing how to increase the production of crops. That is the crop variety improvement. Means how you're going to ensure that the quality as well as the quantity of crops is increased. Okay. So when I say that the quality of the crop should be increased, what do I mean? I mean that the crops should have the crop should be so strong, or the crop should be so efficient, the seeds, okay, that they should be able to resist themselves from infestations, again from infestations like bacteria, viruses, and all that, and they should also withstand extreme environmental conditions such as floods, droughts. Okay, so they should be, in short, disease resistant. Okay, they should have that quality that they are resistant to the attacks of pests and other organisms. Okay, and they should also be weather resistant. Okay, weather or climate resistant. That in the case of extreme climate, some of the crops, not all of them, they are able to withstand and they are able to tolerate those extreme conditions. Okay, so one method by which this is achieved is through hybridization. What happens during hybridization? In farmers, they incorporate desirable characters into crop varieties. So what happens is that say one crop variety is resistant to insects, all right, and other crop varieties, they are resistant to herbicides. So you know that harmful chemicals like herbicides and pesticides, overuse of them can also lead to depletion in the amount of nutrients that are present in the soil. All right, so some crops, they are so built, or they are so they occur so essentially that their integrity allows them to be herbicide tolerant. Means they are withstanding the harmful effect of that herbicide that is stripping away the soil or the plant of the essential nutrients. So we have to ensure quality plus quantity, right? So we are going to cross these two breeds. Means we are going to ensure that a desired product is obtained, okay, from the mix, from the fertilization of this crop and this crop. Okay, so a cross breeding is done between different varieties, between genetically dissimilar plants, so that the desired product that we are getting, that plant product, that is not only insect resistant, but it is also herbicide tolerant. So we are getting the best of both worlds. Okay, so incorporating desirable characters into crop varieties, and this is done, remember, between genetically dissimilar plants, because if a plant is genetically similar, then it's going, both of them are going to be insect resistant or herbicide tolerant. All right, it is only in dissimilar plants, genetically dissimilar plants, that we are observing different traits. So we are crossing them and we are getting a desired product. This crossing may be intervarietal, interspecific, and intergeneric. Intervarietal means between two varieties of plants. Okay. Interspecific means between two species of, say, even similar genus. Okay. So between two species, it may be of a similar genus. Okay. And intergeneric, as the name suggests, inter means between. All right. So intergeneric means between two different genera, sorry, between two different genera. So hybridization can be done intervarietally by mixing two different varieties, interspecifically by mixing two different species. They could be of the same genus, and intergenerically means between two different genera. The another way how we can improve that crop variety is through genetic modification. Okay, means we are introducing a gene that will provide the desired characteristic in the crop. Say we don't want to mix the crop with other genetically dissimilar plant, but we just want to ensure that that plant is producing something which it was earlier not producing. All right, so for example, over here we want this plant to produce red flowers and not yellow flowers. Okay, so we are only introducing that specific gene that is responsible for the production of red flowers. All right, so we are genetically modifying that plant, since you know that those genetic hereditary code, those DNA, they are responsible for our eye color, hair color, and all that. You know this, right? I explained to you in the previous bio chapters. All right, so this that specific gene, that specific hereditary code, those specific DNA, those are being taken, that are responsible for the production of red flowers and not yellow flowers. Okay, so this was just an example. By ensuring this genetic modification, we are achieving good quality seeds. So we are eliminating all the bad qualities of the seeds, and we are incorporating new DNA, we are incorporating new gene by which we can get good quality seeds. Okay. Properties found in improved seed varieties. So we have had a look at a few measures that we can take so that the crop variety can be improved. All right. But what do we get after we have gotten these improved seed variety? We are getting higher yield. Okay, so we are getting more amount of crops, okay, per acre. The crop productivity per acre is increasing. We are getting more products, means the quantity is being increased. Okay, the second requirement was quality. So we are also getting improved quality. We are either genetically modifying it, or we are hybridizing different plants. All right, so the quality of crop products, they vary from crop to crop. Okay, then we are getting biotic and abiotic resistance. Means biotic resistance means we are getting disease resistance plant. All right, we are getting those plants that are able to resist themselves from the attacks of pathogens, say those bacteria and viruses that I was talking about, insects, or even some other plants such as, such creatures such as rodents. All right, so we are getting disease resistant plants. This is the biotic component. Bio means living. Okay, so protection or resistance of plants from these living organisms that can damage them. Then abiotic resistance means protection from the non-living factors that can damage the plants. And what are the non-living factors that can damage the plants? They are extreme climatic conditions such as heat, cold, flooding, drought, or imbalance of salt and nutrients. Imbalance of salt and nutrients is occurring how? Is occurring by the different quality of the salt. So not all kinds of soil would have the same quality, would have the same nutrient level, right? So there may be an imbalance of nutrients, or there may be an imbalance of the saline quality of the salt. So we are also achieving those improved variety of crops that are resistant to these extreme climatic conditions, from this abiotic stress, as well as from these different soil conditions. Okay. Next, we are able to make a change in the maturity duration. Now, what happens is that the period when you sow the seeds and the period when you reap those plants, all right, in order to get more and more number of plants, we have to ensure that the plant is being sowed and it's being reaped more frequently. All right, so we have to ensure that the duration of the crop from sowing to harvesting, that is reaping, is less. All right, because the lesser it is or the shorter it is, the more number of crops we are going to get. Okay, so say I have planted one row of crops and their maturity period is very less. So naturally, I'm going to harvest it, say by 2-3 weeks. So after 2 3 weeks I can plant another type of crop, or say the same type of crop, and get double the amount in 1.5 months. All right, so this ensures that we are getting more quantity, and definitely if we are getting more quantity, so we are having an upper hand economically. Okay, then wider adaptability means we are getting those kind of plants that are able to withstand different climatic conditions, that abiotic stress that I was talking about. Okay, so we are getting those plants that are able to withstand this abiotic stress, these different climatic conditions of heat, drought, floods, and all that, in different areas. All right, so not one area would have the same climate condition, right? So we are ensuring that no matter where these plants are being sowed, all right, be it in the hilly areas, or be it say in the so-called moderate areas. Okay, so we are ensuring that the quality of those seeds, they are not going bad, the quality of plants are not going bad, they are able to withstand the comparatively more colder environment in the hilly areas, and they are also to withstand a more temperate environment. Okay, so different areas have different climatic conditions, and we are ensuring that we get those crops that are resistant to these climatic conditions. Then we are getting desirable agronomic traits, means we are getting crops that have different height, different branch, different leaves, and these are economical. How? For example, cereals, the plants of cereals, if you may observe, they do not grow tall, they are short in height. Okay, they are short in height. This ensures that the important nutrients that these cereals holds, namely carbohydrates, those nutrients are being preserved, and those nutrients are not being utilized for the plant itself for its taller growth. Rather, the plant is short in heights, and we are able to get those nutrients. Okay, and other desirable agronomic traits could be that fodder plants, those plants that are being grown so that they could be used as food for the animals, for the cattle. All right, they are tall in height, they are tall and broad, they have more, they are large in height. Okay, and they have more branching. All right, and this ensures that there is more number of fodder for the different animals. All right, so these are the desirable agronomic traits that we are also getting when we are increasing, or when we are improving the crop variety. How do biotic and abiotic factors affect crop production? So biotic factors are the living factors such as those factors that may cause diseases. All right, so they affect the crop production by infestations. Infestations by how? Infestations by pathogens like bacteria, viruses, okay, and different other living organism like rodents, okay, like some insects, all right, that may do damage to our crops, and may hinder the access of those plant products to us. Okay, and the abiotic factors, they are the non-living factors. Biotic, remember, bio means life, so biotic factors, they are the living factors, and abiotic factors, they are the non-living factors. Okay, so the abiotic factors are those extreme climatic conditions that hinder the good production of these crops. Okay, extreme climatic condition. All right, climatic conditions such as heat, such as flood, or such as drought. All right, so the plants, they are getting damaged. In extreme of heat, they may go bad. In extreme of floods, in extreme of drought, in the absence of water, in the absence of rain, all right, they may go bad, because some farmers, they only wait for the rain in order to irrigate those plants. They do not irrigate them themselves. Okay. The last question, what are the desirable agronomic groups, agronomic characteristics for crop improvement? So I told you the desirable agronomic characters could vary between the height, could vary between the number of branching that is being done. For example, like I told you that cereals, they have shorter heights. All right, they have shorter heights that ensure that the important nutrient, the important carbohydrates, they are being stored in the plants for utilization by human beings or other animals, and they are not being utilized by the plant themselves for the taller growth. And other fodder that are being, specially developed, specially sown and specially reaped so that the animals can eat them. All right, they are more taller in height. Okay, they are longer, they are more taller in height, plus they have more branching. This ensures that their production is more, they are more in quantity, so that the animals, the cattle, they can get more and more fodder. All right, so this was part one, where you saw about the improvement in the crop production, improvement in the crop yields. In the later parts, we'll be having a look at the other important factors, such as in those of crop production. All right, this was of increasing and improving the variety. Now we will have a look at how to increase this crop production. Okay.